Hi folks, today I thought I'd make a little video about focus stacking. Focus stacking, it's a technique where especially it's good when you've got a very shallow depth of field and in something, a setup like this where we've got a couple of rings here, we've got a macro lens there. The macro lens is such a shallow depth of field that only parts of these rings are going to be in focus, and we want them all in focus. So we'll do some focus stacking and I'll explain the technique as we go along. Now the setup is I've got a tabletop tripod there, I've got a Canon 5D Mark III on it, which is upside down. I'll explain that later on. And on the end of that I've got a Canon 100mm f2.8 macro lens. I think one of the better macro lenses out there. I've got a couple of rings here. Above it we've got a Rogue flash bender snoot with a 45-degree grid on it, and that will just make sure that just this area here gets some light. That's got in it a Canon 600EX RT speedlight, and on top of the camera, which you may just be able to make out there, we have a Yongnuo speedlight, the STE3 Yongnuo, equivalent to Canon. And I'll just wake it up, and I'll have to take a test shot just to wake the flash up. Took it with the wrong thing. We'll take it with the right camera this time. And that should be the flash woken up now, and that's fine. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put this camera here on a tripod, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. This camera that I'm using to film is a Canon 5D Mark II, and I'll just try and focus in on the back of that. You'll see some of it, probably not all of it. It's probably as close as I can get. I'll try and get a little bit closer. Sorry if this is juggling and bouncing about. If I do that and that, it's a bit better. Okay, focus stacking. We'll take the nearest thing in focus, take a picture, then the next nearest thing in focus, we'll take another picture, and we'll take a series of pictures. And although I'm using a prime lens, if we go into the video mode here, hopefully you can see that. Although I'm using a prime lens, if we have a look at this part here of the image, you can see, and a little tip, if you use a magnifying glass at the side of your camera, if you've got one, and then you use a little paddle key, I'm going to go down to the nearest part of the image, which is probably these stones here, and we're just going to manually focus to get the aim as sharp as we can. And there's not really, there's actually probably there's good. And I'm using a shutter release cable. We'll take the first one. And we'll take the next one, again back into the magnifying glass, and if we go further in or round the rings now, maybe just here where it's starting to blur up, we'll get that in focus. And again, hand off the table, back into the ring. And we'll go further down. Now at some point my ring, top ring here, is going to overlap, and that'll be what we need in focus, so we'll go for that. And there's quite a lot of contrast in the ring, so the actual edge of the ring will be what the Photoshop picks up and uses to make the sharp image out of all the other images. So we need to make sure that the rim of the ring stays pretty sharp. So again, we'll go back up to the top one, And we'll move it down a little bit further, just to see where it starts to go blurred. A little bit manual focus. That's fine. And probably the last one, if we get the back of the ring, or maybe just a bit further down. Maybe about there, we'll maybe take 2 for that. And very last one will be the very back wall of the ring, if you like. And here, along and up there, and just this bit here. And perfect. And we'll throw all of them together in Photoshop. Now, into Photoshop now, and just see where we go from there. Okay, right, that's all the images in here in Photoshop. Now I've actually got more than I brought in, so I'm going to quickly open them all in Photoshop. Say OK. And it's not going to open them, it's going to take them all into Camera Raw. And as you'll see straight off the bat, they're all upside down. So I'm going to right click and select all. And I'm just going to turn them. Turn it once and turn it twice. And that's them all the right way up. And I'm going to click done. And that'll update all these files. And they'll just be that little bit easier to look at now. Because of, if you see the file names here, everyone that's got a number, i.e. a 1 in that little slot there, is a copy. So I'm just going to get rid of all the copies. I don't need them all. Got everything with a 1. It would be easier if I just took the memory card out, but I haven't, so this is the next best thing. Just delete them. Okay, now we're going to go through these images and see what, if anything, is sharp amongst any of them. And this is the one we're going to start with, because this is where I did start to get things sharp on the stones. So that'd be 1. And then we're halfway through. Then it's the top ring. Then it's the middle of the top ring. So 6. So 6 images. We're going to take into Photoshop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll just double check. So we're going, or is it 7? It's 6 from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're now going to take all these into Photoshop. And I'm just going to take my Camera Raw first, just to get some of the settings correct. Take some of the tungsten effect out here. Let's see what flash looks like. Yeah, flash looks fine. We'll bump up the clarity a little. Take the vibrance up a little. We'll take temperature down, I think probably about 5,000. Sorry, that's 4,000. Let's go down to 5,000. Okay, so we'll click done. And that's how we've got our colour and brightness adjustments. And then we'll go up to here where it says Tools, down to where it says Photoshop, and we'll load the files into Photoshop layers. Because I'm recording, it takes a minute or two longer than normal, but we should have the 6 layers here, and the top one will be the clearest layer. And as I turn the layers off one at a time, you'll see just how much movement there is. Okay, as all these images are all these layers are now here, you can see if we'll zoom in a little bit, see we've got nice and sharp here, and you would think that these lenses, that was a prime lens I used and it didn't move, it's on a tripod, but look what happens to the images. Everyone looks like they're going slightly further away from you as you move through the focus. So what we need to do is select all the layers and go up to the edit menu and go down to auto align layers, and that'll resize and get all the images lined up perfectly. So auto, and Photoshop does a good job. You couldn't possibly do it better yourself, I don't think. So auto is fine, and just click OK. And Photoshop will do its magic, and it really does do a good job. It'll realign, but what it'll do, it'll shrink the top layer down a little, and as you can see, a lot, you know, for a lens that's a camera that never moved once, I'll come down again. So there you go, to the top one off, and you can see it's made a pretty decent fist of getting them all off. Now the next thing we do is, again, hold the top layer or click on the top layer, hold shift on your keyboard and select them all, back up to the edit menu, and this time instead of auto align we're going to go auto blend. And again, Photoshop, we can tick this bit here, content aware fill transparent areas. We'll do that, and let's see how Photoshop deals with it. With a bit of luck, it should align them all perfectly, and it will keep only the sharpest of images, the sharpest parts of all the images, and it creates masks and gets rid of all the blurred bits. Now you couldn't possibly do that yourself, although sometimes after auto blending has happened you will go back in and you can use a brush on the mask, and it will, you could rub out parts or add in parts if you think Photoshop's got it wrong. So let's see how it does. It's done a not bad job. There's a couple of bits up here that we can do something with. So if we turn that one off, you can see it's made a little bit of a mess of that, but we could fix that ourselves. In fact, that's what we'll do next. So there you go, there's the whole layer in focus now. And what we'll do is I'm going to turn off all the masks and put that one back on, turn that one off, and if I highlight that one, I'm going to do Control Alt Shift and E, and then I'm going to turn everything back on again. So that's where we started, and that's what we've got. Now there's a little bit smudge here, we've got something to do with that, but we'll fix that in a moment. We could really discard all these now, we've got this layer here. And Control D to deselect, and because we ticked that little box that says don't hold on to any, sorry, I put a blank layer there. Because we ticked the box that says don't hold on to full transparency, that's why we've got now a full layer. So this is quite an indistinct colour, so I'm going to try it first with a brush. So we've got B for a brush, we've got 40% flow, opacity 100%. So I'm just going to take a sample of the colour up here. So if we hold the Alt key down, and I'm just going to tick there, and we're just going to paint these bits out. And I'm just going to slightly smaller but softer brush, and I'm just going to paint this stuff out here. Now remember, you're going to do this, you're going to do it for I like to do this on things like, again, just keep sampling the colour. Because we're on a tile with this, what is underneath it is quite indistinct, so we can just keep painting over any little bits that's Photoshop's not quite got right. There is a bit of texture in this bit of the tile, but we're not worried too much about that just now. And we just paint these out. You could use the clone stamp, but there's not enough detail in it to sort of merit that. And some of this is just light bouncing. But essentially, that's it done. There you go. Sorry about my mucky tile, but that's where we are now compared with where we were. I think I'll probably just layer that down. Now let's get the crop tool and crop that, because I'll just change angle of that slightly. And we'll pull it up a bit more into a corner. Or you can do it the other way around. You could do it that way, but let's not do it that way. We'll do it here. Keep it on a corner if we can. And maybe we would have some writing here. Okay, we'll take that. And we're just going to add in a little curves layer next. Get a bit more contrast between everything. Sometimes that happens. Let's see, do that. And next I would maybe get a little curve layer. It doesn't matter that these masks are turned off now, we're working on a stamp visible. And we maybe just pull that down a little bit. What we'll have to do is get rid of the daisy. We'll get rid of the curves layer just now. We'll merge this in with that. Merge layers, and now we'll put a curve layer in, and we'll add in a little bit of contrast here, and maybe just put in a little bit of that there. So there you've got that there. Again, Control Alt Shift and E, get another stamp visible, and we'll go into the camera raw filter. And now we're going to add in some more clarity. And I'm going to up for the highlights and down the shadows, and that's what we do. And then maybe just put a little bit more light in amongst the sparkly bits. We can never have them looking too light. We'll pull that up a little bit, and we'll maybe pull the highlights up as well, so we get a bit more bang for our buck. And we'll get a new brush, and we'll go into the stone here, and we'll also add in a bit more vibrance, or saturation rather, for a bit more vibrance, sorry. And we can go overboard with it. Click OK and add in layer mask. Fill the layer mask, Control I will fill it. And now we can just paint with a white brush to bring these details back out. So the purpose of this video was not to show you it was more to show you the benefits of stacking. Hope that helps. See you next time.